While I would love to have absolute faith within the judge and his executioner, I do believe this battle within Jujutsu Kaisen will have more complications than any battle we have seen before. What's up, guys? Alfonso here, and here we are to do a breakdown and discussion on the upcoming battle between Sukuna, Ryomen, and Higuruma and Itadori, the judge and the executioner of Jujutsu Kaisen. And why I think this battle, it could go well, it could, or it could go really, really, really bad. Or it could fall somewhere in between. There's a whole lot to talk about, so let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. What's up, guys? Alfonso here. Fun fact, I do have it on me. I keep it on me at all times. And fun fact, Higuruma also has it on him. And apparently he keeps it on him at all times. I have no idea how he has it, though. Like, outside the... Well, I guess he always had the gavel. He always had the gavel. Like, he raised it to activate his domain expansion. So I guess he does always have the gavel. But I know he could, like, keep it in big form at all times. But he does... N238 dropping from the heavens with that big old gavel on him. And obviously, Itadori Yuji, he has certain mutations on him. Though, we'll talk about that in a little bit. The main thing that has me super duper worried about this battle is the very specific nature of Higuruma's abilities and the very inspecific nature of the King of Curses, Ryomen Sukuna. So what do I mean? Remember how Higuruma's domain works. First things first, he needs to trap you in it, which may be an issue in of itself. But in fact, you know what? Before I even get into the complications of the domain itself and whether or not it would even work on Sukuna, remember, Sukuna's not going in blind with Higuruma. He knows exactly what Higuruma's abilities, the domain, all that is. He literally had it explained to him. And we know, despite what Sukuna claims to have been doing the entire time he was trapped inside Itadori, aka just... Is the brat suffering? No. He does listen. He does watch, specifically when Itadori's fighting. We see this multiple times. We see it when he's fighting Yuta. We see it when he's fighting Choso. We see that when he wasn't even fighting. The reason he knew about how to deal with Unlimited Void so well, despite seemingly never encountering it before himself, is very specifically because he was there when Gojo explained Unlimited Void to Jogo and Itadori in their initial domain clash. He knew everything about that because Sukuna is always listening. And thusly, in a scenario where Sukuna is always listening, and the battle between Higuruma and Itadori was very, very recent, Sukuna has all the data on Higuruma's domain. He has all the data on Higuruma. And thusly, Sukuna doesn't actually have to engage with Higuruma's game. He really doesn't. Like, we like to pretend that that's going to be an instant GG, you know. Higuruma goes, domain expansion, and suddenly Sukuna's trapped in court with his lawyer Maharaga incarnated into a totality right next to him, hoping to defend him from the terrifying nature of Japanese law. But the thing is, Higuruma, about a month ago, was pushing a nice and smooth grade 1. A nice smooth and buttery grade 1. Now, don't get me wrong. I completely understand the common idea that sorcerer growth is non-linear. But I'm sorry. I don't think you leap from I'm struggling with keeping up with no curse energy Yuji to suddenly fighting the King of Curses in a month. And the reason I bring this up so specifically is because since Sukuna knows exactly what may happen, we're going to say may, because there are going to be complications when we get into the domain itself. But on the assumption that Sukuna doesn't even want to enter the domain, he doesn't have to. All he needs to do is just, while Higuruma's falling down and Higuruma's in half. As far as I know, Higuruma doesn't have any RCT. So, if he loses an arm, he ain't domain expansioning. If his mallet gets cut in half, he may not be able to domain expansion. If he gets cut in half, he's not domain expansioning. He is literally one shot. He is genuinely and truly, honestly, one shot. At any point. The moment he appeared, especially considering Sukuna has Space Slash, which once again, does not even appear to travel, it just... And even the regular cleaves and dismantles, don't get me wrong. Cleave and dismantle is a technique that doesn't seem all too good on its own, but remember, it just executed Hajime Kashimo. Remember, this is the thing that took out Satoru Gojo, the strongest sorcerer. And Higuruma's not Satoru Gojo. He's not Hajime Kashimo. One singular wave of Sukuna's hands, all four of them, heaven forbid, he just goes like, wacha, wacha. And Higuruma's in pieces. He does not have to engage with Higuruma's domain. Another thing, he really doesn't have any reason to just sit there and let him do it. Notably, with someone like Hajime Kashimo, he didn't know much about Kashimo at all. He literally never encountered him. The only information he had about Kashimo was like, hey, you're one of the people that had all those points that the boy wanted to get for this guy, Megumi. That's about all he knew about Kashimo. So, sitting there and letting Kashimo live wasn't even on purpose. Remember, when he got Kamutoke, if Kashimo did not have an electric type curse technique trait, he would have been completely fine with vaporizing Kashimo right then on the spot. Not hearing him out, nothing. He was trying to boom and just drop Kashimo just like that. So, unlike what may be commonly believed, Sukuna's not one to play around right now. He's kind of just like, I'm just trying to get through y'all. Go ahead, keep sending your worst. Boom, boom, boom. And maybe you could argue he's a little soft on Itadori, even if subconsciously, but Higuruma, he has no reason to. So before Higuruma's domain even pops off, Sukuna could just do that, or since he still has Kamutoke in hand, he could just, and then boom, Higuruma struck by lightning and he can't even activate domain. But that's the prerequisite. That's like the most base, worst case scenario. Sukuna actually plays it smart and is just like, yeah, I know how your domain works. I don't even want to risk getting confiscated. Heaven forbid you get that Executioner's Blade. Phew, and he just swings and bam, Higuruma is done. But let's be generous. Let's assume that wholeheartedly, no matter what, Higuruma, one way or another, at the start of 239, is getting that domain off. It doesn't matter when, doesn't matter how, doesn't matter why, doesn't matter who. He gets the domain off. Now we're going to reach some complicated legal territory and some complicated, I guess, name territory. Everything's going to be complicated just in the trial sense. Because the question is, in similar vein to what Geto asked all those years ago, are you Ryomen Sukuna in spite of the fact that you are in Megumi Fushiguro's body? Or are you Megumi Fushiguro because you're in Megumi Fushiguro's body, despite the fact that you're Ryomen Sukuna? AKA, what name is Sukuna being tried under? Is he being tried under the name of his vessel? We know that Culling Games, despite being able to recognize like different types of players and stuff like that, being able to name all them properly, we know that Kenjaku is very specifically listed as Suguru Geto. Itadori, who hadn't properly registered for the Culling Games, was registered for the Culling Games through Sukuna's binding vow from 1,000 years ago as Itadori Yuji, despite the fact that he had nowhere near gotten to the Culling Games. And characters like, and here's the weird thing though, he's still even known as Megumi Fushiguro. Because when Kenjaku very specifically makes the rule with the Kogane, he specifically says Suguru Geto and Megumi Fushiguro. If they are the only ones left and the Culling Games, that's the rule that he makes. So, according to the Culling Games, which seems to be its own autonomous facsimile run by cursed spirits, or cursed energy itself, essentially, it's recognizing Sukuna as Megumi Fushiguro. It does. And we know with Judge Man, it is very weirdly biased. Or, not weirdly biased. It does not matter. But then again, that's the question. Because Judge Man recognizes Itadori Yuji as the person who committed mass slaughter in Shibuya. Even though, legally speaking, that wasn't him. As Higuruma points out at the end of their battle, non-compos mentis. You weren't in control of your body. That was the cursed object Ryomen Sukuna that hijacked your entire physical form. You're just taking the blame for it. So, when Ryomen Sukuna is tried, is he only going to be able to be tried under the name of Megumi Fushiguro, even though he's Ryomen Sukuna? And if so, does that narrow the pool a whole bunch on what he can be tried for? Because, admittedly, me and a bunch of others have been making jokes that you can get Sukuna on pretty much anything. property destruction, mass slaughter, slaughter of innocents, slaughter of non-innocents, the slaughter of the most recent one, realistically, Satoru Gojo and Kashima Hajime. The bro should have the list of crimes super duper long. But remember, Judge Man doesn't automatically leap to the big boys. Judge Man, unfortunately, isn't necessarily all too well balanced on what's going to accuse people of. Remember, it went from, oh yeah, we'll talk about how Itadori Yuji may have gone into a store he shouldn't have been into due to his age, all the way up to, oh yeah, by the way, Itadori Yuji committed mass slaughter. So Judge Man may not even hit Sukuna with any sort of major crime at first because he's in Megumi Fushiguro's body. We may get crimes of Megumi Fushiguro being brought to the table, considering Sukuna, despite being Ryomen Sukuna, is registered as Megumi Fushiguro, because we know that Judge Man specifically, and even the Culling Games themselves, these transcendental curse energy-based beings tend to recognize not the person in control of the vessel, but simply the biological name and reason of the vessel itself. So Sukuna being trapped in Higuruma's domain doesn't even guarantee the idea that we're gonna get an easy dub. The idea of, oh, okay, the moment he gets trapped in, he's gonna get confiscated. And another thing is, remember, Sukuna is a pretty smart guy. They don't get me wrong, he's not like Kenjaku smart. In terms of the legal system, he's probably not Higuruma smart. If he has any legal system memorized, it's probably the one from his period, because I highly doubt Yuji was studying the legal system all too much. So Higuruma should have them in most cases, but Sukuna's not stupid. He knows, like, well, if I confess guilty like the brat did, I'm going to lose everything and I'm going to give that guy an executioner's blade. Even if that won't work on me immediately, because he wouldn't be able to hit me because I'm literally Ryomen Sukuna, I'd rather not have to deal with the possibility of him even having that. So he doesn't have to commit guilty to anything. He can plead innocent. We don't know how that's going to work, because notably Itadori never did plead innocent in his battle against Higuruma. He pleaded a argument case for why he should have been innocent, technically, and he pleaded guilty to the second retrial, but we never got to see what happened if he stayed silent. If he made an actual solid argument and didn't lie. What is it called when you lie in court? What is it called when you lie in court? Hold on. What is it called when you lie in court? I actually 100% forget. But, like, he just lied in court and then admitted guilty. Sukuna has other options that he can do, especially if he can take a solid guess at what kind of information he's going to be pressed for. What is lying in court called? Perjury. Bam! That's another crime that he could add to his list. But still, that's a big thing. He's not going to immediately get charged for crimes that are easy to convict him on. And he may not even get charged for the who knows how many crimes he's committed in the past because of his vessel being Megumi Fushiguro. Another thing that's a big issue with this battle in particular. Unlike Itadori Yuji, Ryomen Sukuna has a technique that can be confiscated. We don't know the name of that technique. We don't know how Judge Man would interact with someone with multiple techniques, like Sukuna. Like, worst case scenario. Let's say Sukuna gets, like, well, I guess the worst case scenario is Higuruma gets peace right at the start. But the giga worst case scenario, if Higuruma gets Sukuna trapped in domain, is, Sukuna got a little minor crime and all he got was confiscation, and now I have to fight him. He may still have his other techniques. He may lose his true technique, but we don't know if he still has 10 shadows or not. We don't know. The Flame Arrow and Cleaving Dismantle are listed as separate techniques in the data books. If he loses one, he could still possibly have the other. And here's the thing. We know for a fact that, sure, Judge Man can strip away innate techniques of people. What about Kamutoke? You know, the thing that can summon multiple gigantic lightning bolts? He could still just... and he's going to be dropping bolt everywhere. So even confiscating him, if that does take away his curse technique, probably wouldn't bother him all too much. And another big issue, if you confiscate him, don't get me wrong, Itadori Yuji is a prodigy of prodigies. The man went from, I don't know what curse energy is, to boxing special grades pretty much on the daily in a matter of, like, 3 months? It had not been that long since he magically joined Jujutsu High and went through all his character development. But even he lost control of his cursed energy. Admittedly, because that's what was taken away from him. But Higuruma even mentions that, taking away someone's cursed technique is antithetical to their nature. And thus it's making, well, he says it makes it hard, but he doesn't say it makes it impossible for them to still use their cursed energy to reinforce themselves. You know what that means? Even if, and this is a big if, Sukuna gets confiscated, he loses the technique. Not only could he possibly have another technique at his disposal, but also he could still have his full stats. Because notably, if there's any characters in the series that can work just fine under weird circumstances and controlling their cursed energy, it's going to be Kinchaku, Sukuna, and Gojo. Maybe Kashimo. Maybe Kashimo will be weird too, because he doesn't have a technique 99% of the time, but then again, I guess Judgment would steal that too. But with that being the case, it's entirely possible that everything goes well. Everything goes beautiful. Sukuna gets convicted on a relatively decent crime, and Higuruma gets a really big mallet. They would still have to fight 20-finger Sukuna. At full force. Sure, let's say he loses Cleave. Let's say he loses this mantle. Let's say he just loses all that. He still has the rest of his kit, which is just a lightning bolt summoning weapon that can also be used to poke, and his just raw hands. Remember, this is the kind of guy who was out here nearly perception blitzing, if not flat out perception blitzing. Whoa, where's the English on that? Perception blitzing Hajime Kashimo when he was using Phantom Beast Amber. Bro, it's crazy in terms of stats. And you mean to tell me you think that they're just going to get an easy dub if he loses his curse technique because that'll take away his curse energy control? Sukuna would be the one to adapt. Easy. Sukuna would know how to do it. It's the same reason why I don't think characters like Yuki or Gojo really had much trouble leaving Tengen's barrier. Sure, Tengen's barriers make it easier to control curse energy. They amplify curse energy control, but it doesn't make it impossible for them to use it outside of Japan. Just like if Sukuna loses his curse technique, it's not going to make him absolutely unable to wield his cursed energy like Yuji did, because Yuji had nothing to take. So then we have Higuruma, once again, a guy who was struggling. I cannot emphasize this enough. He was struggling with a base, fully healed demon god Yuji with no cursed energy, and Yuji who has an unknown and currently at this point unquantifiable amp. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's really gonna work out that well. I don't think it's gonna go that smooth in any way, shape, or form. The battle just seems dangerous on those pretenses alone. With Sukuna having a weapon that is completely independent of his curse techniques, with Sukuna being in a weird fleshly form that does not inherently follow the rules, well, not the raw rules, I confuse those words together, the rules of Judgment directly, and kind of falls in this weird wibbly wobbly space where he could be Ryomen Sukuna, but he also could be Megumi Fushiguro, and he could get a really light crime. And even if Higuruma gets the Executioner's Blade, the chances of him tagging Sukuna, even with Itadori there, are very, very low. So overall, there's a bunch of stuff that could go wrong with this battle. Do I think Sukuna, if he gets chopped, will be able to break the non-violence rule? Probably not. I don't think he'd be able to open domain either, because that would count as an act of violence, but this battle's still hectic. It's maddening, isn't it? And I really don't know how it's going to go, but I'm still very, very excited to find out. However, that's what I think. Those are what I think are the most major complications with the battle. Obviously, I'm going to talk about Yuji and his hypothetical curse technique in its own separate video. I just want to talk about the weird stipulations of Judgment and Sukuna and Megumi and Itadori and all that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave Lawyer Maharaga in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You support for as low as $1 a month. Get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, I want to thank you guys so much for watching once again. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Wakanda Plays, Red Wolf 4765, and Burp Skills. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Sean, Midnight Gemlord, Kevin, and Demex LND. And I'd like to give a fat, hefty thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, and Idemokami. And I'd like to give another hefty, nasty thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. And another big fat scrumdiddlyumptious thank you to our $25 patrons, Igneal and Calvin Elder.